Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those. Welcome to another episode of
Coffee House Conversations
with your hosts Vince Cyprus
Eno Didillion
and John Allen Manuel.
Today we'll be talking about a thrilling novel called Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini.
Okay, so let's start off with where does this story take place? So we know that this story takes place in Kabul, Afghanistan, where two characters meet and they face challenges throughout the novel. But in the beginning, Amir and Hassan, which are the two closest friends that have grown up a lot of times throughout the novel. So what's your guys' thoughts about like the themes and the messages that play throughout the novel?
I believe the main theme definitely has to be regret, right? That carries on throughout the whole novel. And of course, with regret, there has to be some redemption, right? If you feel guilty, you have to move on. And that follows with the main character Amir throughout the story about him feeling bad about Hassan. I guess also it would be cultural differences.
Oh yeah.
So definitely with the Pashtuns and the Hazaras, that becomes quite a very big part of the novel. Of course, racism, a lot of racism.
And discrimination, a lot of discrimination within the novel.
Yeah, so like the Hazaras are like the lowest of the classes. They're disrespected, and then lots of them are like of course,
servants.
They're oppressed.
Yeah, they're oppressed. They're made as servants to.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
They don't like live the childhood as like Pashtuns.
Yeah, I don't. Do you guys know why? Why they are even considered as slaves? Yeah, do you think like the Pashtuns came first to Afghanistan and then? Because I genuinely don't actually know that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure there was historical context between the Pashtuns and the Hazaras. I think what of course you said that the Pashtuns came in first, probably.
Maybe I don't.
And then maybe the Hazaras came in, maybe conquered one of their lands, and then that's how like the hate got in or the conflict got in between the Hazaras and the Pashtuns.
Yeah, especially since our main character Amir is a Pashtun, right?
Yep.
And his very close friend Hassan is a Hazara. So it's an interesting dynamic between them. But how does the relationship between them actually develop Amir as a character as a whole?
Well, to add on to your question, we could see Amir treating Hassan differently. Like he acts as his best friend when it's just the two of them, but when it's in front of other people, he acts like Hassan is a different stranger.
Yeah, it makes you wonder: is he really friends with Hassan?
Yeah, because like in the beginning of the novel, he like questions himself whether he calls Hassan a friend.
Yeah, or is it just like an image he wants to portray about him? Like, you know how he doesn't, like we said, he doesn't really hang out with Hassan in public, right? Is it really? It's because we know they're all looked down upon, right? The hanging out with Pashtuns, hanging out with the Hazaras. It's obviously a racial.
It has to be a reputation.
Reputation.
Yeah.
As well as social influence, societal expectations. You know.
What do you think Amir's strengths are? There's not many. I don't want to be like.
There's not many.
There's not many,
but he is a good writer. He's
definitely a good writer. Yeah, that's for sure.
I think we should split it up to 3 parts: childhood, middle adult, and then adult. I think that's where we could best see his strengths and weaknesses. So childhood, his strengths would probably be his storytelling.
His storytelling,
definitely. Yeah.
And
I think
that has to be it.
No, there's also like kite running. You know the tournaments.
He's the kite fighting.
Yeah, he's really good at kite fighting. He develops skills.
Yeah, to be fair, his kite running skills, second to none. Right, he defeated the dude with the blue kite. But other than that, there really wasn't any spectacular things about him in the first part of the novel.
I think he's passionate. Like he's passionate with his goals, especially with writing. Like he continues to like keep going on through that.
Yeah, I'd argue that it's probably because of Hassan that actually.
Yeah, and he's also driven by like his affection towards Baba. Like he wants to have like Baba's affection.
Yeah, the whole first part of the novel was just basically Baba influencing Amir. The first part, which leads into the second part of the novel, which is when he was in the mid adults. Right, when he was in the mid adults, he left. He left Afghanistan during the mid part of the novel. He left. Now he's in America with his father. Right now, no more Hassan. Basically, no friends in America, and that's how we get to see his new version. Which I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot about his mid-adult life. It really did feel like a filler arc. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, a lot of people do say it. Yeah, it felt like a filler arc.
So I don't know anything. I don't remember much. I know he's in America. He was able to adapt. Right, a new environment. His father was very hesitance. He didn't really know how to, you know, adapt to his environment. What did Amir say? He said that he was able to something about burying his past in America, right? Whereas his father, I don't know.
Because like he wanted to go back to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
He wasn't used to all those like in America.
Speaking of which, in America he met a certain someone. What was her name again? I forgot her name. Was it Soraya?
Soraya.
Oh, Soraya.
Yeah, is the daughter of the general, right? I think that's when we see him become more mature, especially. That's one of his strengths, I think. And when to become
So
more
like
mature.
room for growth is what you're saying?
Yeah, room for growth.
Yes.
Okay,
Right. Right. He's way more better than he was obviously when he was younger.
Exactly. That shows like the personal development that plays throughout the novel.
Yeah, that's mid part of the novel. That's basically what it is. It's growing. Last part. This is the longest one, right? So, became an adult. Got a call from Rahim Khan to go back to Afghanistan to redeem himself. There's still time to be good, which I'm pretty sure in the first page, Rahim Khan calls, right? And he says, there is a way to be good again. So the last part of the novel is about Amir redeeming himself. So how can he redeem himself? How did he redeem himself? And how does that show his strengths, right?
That he redeemed himself because he got Hassan's son. And what's your thoughts about Sarab? Like
Sarab?
he's been like a kid. He went through all those trauma as a kid. He's been raped.
He's a second version of Hassan.
Yeah.
2.0.
He shares the same exact personalities as Hassan.
He's a mirror of Hassan, even though he hadn't really known Hassan as much his whole life, right? I mean, I guess he did because he's.
I think the last part. I hate the scene where Amir fought with Asef, but he didn't really like win the fight. Hassan 2.0. Hassan 2.0 was the one that.
Sarab, man.
Yeah, he's the one that saved him again, just like Hassan back then.
He used the slingshot. He used the slingshot just the same way his father
like,
did.
Yeah, exactly. That's what got me like driving me mad. I was like,
He never really redeemed himself.
like he's like half and half. Like he didn't really like he kind of redeemed himself, but not really. Like we're not satisfied because of that.
Yeah,
It's really ironic. It's really ironic.
He never got to apologize.
Yeah.
So that's
Because Hassan ended up dying before he could end.
Yeah, exactly. Before he ended up like getting this.
Yeah. So the quote, perspective was a luxury when your head was constantly buzzing with a swarm of demons, was said by Amir when he was older, when he was an adult. And basically this is just a self-reflection. And this shows that his character grew. He understood that when he was younger, it was just negative aspects of his thoughts that made him who he was back then. But now that he grew, he was able to acknowledge it, grow from that. And now hopefully he can teach Sorab the same thing that he went
It was
through.
like he was overcoming his past. Like most of the time, he was just running away from the past.
Yeah, and that's basically his adult self now. He grew, and I think that's one of his greatest strengths.
And he takes that strengths to finally stand up to Asef.
Amir, right, after, I guess, redeeming himself after saving Sorab, how does Amir saving Sorab show his strength, right? That's basically the last part of this whole novel. Right.
Well, it shows his strength, like you guys said, room for growth. He wasn't able to save Hassan from being raped because he was too fearful. He was too scared of what would happen to him. But in that case of saving Sorab, he was not selfish. He cared about Sorab's well-being.
Like he didn't really want to save Sarab. It was Rahim Khan that influenced him to go. He was like, before he went to Kabul, Afghanistan, he kind of like, he was like hesitant. He's like, I don't really want to go. But then like left the apartment of Rahim Khan, right? He like questioned himself like, should I go back, or if I go back, does that make me who I truly am? Like, like it makes me a bad person.
He's finally growing.
Yeah, that's what you guys said, like growth, room for growth.
What are you guys' thoughts on Asef? Now that's a big topic.
Asef is a menace to society.
Pass me a slice. I don't even want to talk about
give us a slice. Give us a slice. Right?
So Asef, how do you become like that? Right?
Well, first of all, the first odd thing that we realized about him is he's blonde and he has blue eyes. In the
movie though,
in the movie he doesn't, but
he doesn't have.
You don't really see people with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's rare. That's rare.
It's very rare. I don't know if I got to him in the novel, but
like, isn't his parents like really nice?
Yeah. Don't you think that even his own parents are scared of him? Especially during Amir's birthday party, when he introduced his parents to Amir, they kind of seemed like they were scared of him.
I don't know. It really makes me wonder, why? what happened to him when he was young to become, I don't know, a Nazi ideologist, right? He realizes the Nazism.
Hitler, yeah,
Nazism,
he idolizes Hitler, of course.
the ideologies. I don't know. He's a weird character for sure. He's doesn't know if he's just a bully.
Yeah, his intentions towards like ethnic cleansing, like it like corresponds or correlates with Hitler's intentions back then.
Yeah, there's some sort of antisocial behavior in there, right? I don't know how we got that behavior, but how we born like that.
Well, this brings us to the question: is Asef a psychopath?
I feel like he is a psychopath because he has no remorse. He like abuses, yeah, he kills people too, and he has no remorse, no regret with that, and he doesn't redeem himself.
He's a pure villain.
Yeah, you should not be liking that character at all.
Like, if you compare Asef to the other Taliban leaders, he's completely different. He doesn't have this. He's not driven like the other Taliban leaders. He's morally driven by his self-pleasure of seeing other people being harmed.
No empathy. That's the
No empathy.
psychopathic. Yeah, the psychopathic trait, 100%.
It's for his own pleasure, satisfaction, like what you said.
Yeah, first part of the novel, racist, bully, right? Nothing good comes out of that. So that's already his first sign of being a psychopath or antisocial.
Also, let's break down the scenes. So, like the first part, or just first parts on the scenes on Asef.
First time we saw Seth was when was it Amir and Hassan were off to go to somewhere, right?
Yep.
And
I
then
think that was when the forest. Did we went to the forest in
forest?
the future?
Oh, right.
It was the hills.
I think it was the hills, yeah. And somewhere in the hills, we already as soon as he came, we already saw him with his two guys. I forgot their names.
Mm-hmm.
But already he sounded like a tyrant.
Yeah.
He's obviously a bully to Hassan. Race, okay. When it comes to Pashtun and Hazaras, obviously I don't understand that, but I don't get why he specifically hates Hassan. Like throughout the whole novel, I mean I guess they might have done it to some other people, but specifically Hassan. Why Hassan?
Well,
But
I don't know if this plays like a role in Asef hating Hassan, but Hassan's father, Ali, was also made fun of the other children, including Asef, for his disability.
it's a disgusting human being, especially in the last part of the novel, right? We see he becomes part of the Taliban.
I was wondering where he was throughout the novel, like the filler part from America. I thought
hope
he was already dead.
I hope he died.
I thought he was already dead.
hoped-
Yeah.
I hope he died. But nope, he comes back to the Taliban.
The last part when he like disguised himself with the dark sunglasses. I'm pretty sure it was it.
Yeah, that was.
And then he revealed himself. He took off the sunglasses. I was like, "Yo, are you serious right now?"
I mean, this was kind of expected that Asef was going to become a Taliban.
Of course, because like in the first part, he promised that it wasn't over yet. He was gonna get both Hassan and Amir. He got Hassan first, and now next, of course, was Amir.
He did a child trafficking business while he was a Taliban.
Of course, he was getting children one by one through what orphanages.
First, he raped Hassan, right? And he didn't have enough. He had to rape other children. Like that's
He's messed up.
especially so. Oh man, Sohrab. That was. He has to do it again. First the father, now his son.
I feel like it would have been more different, like in the beginning, if Amir actually talked to Baba and Ali about what happened in the incident when Hassan, got raped. I feel like it would have been way different if Sef's dad would have like taught him in a way like that stops him from doing what he's doing right now.
Because if you're born like that, how would you even stop that? And if you're already afraid of him, there's no way he would change. He was born like that from the very beginning.
At least Baba and Ali would have known now. Like would have changed the perspective of everything.
Well, we'll be right back after this commercial break, and our sponsor for today is Burger King.
The book, The Kite Runner, the name itself, The Kite Runner, there has something to do with kite, right?
Yep.
So, kite flying. The first instance that we saw about kite running or kite fighting was when Amir and Hassan were still young. And I think, in my opinion, kite running could symbolize, or the kite itself could also symbolize regret and or somewhat redemption. Right. So when they basically won the kite fight or the kite running events in Afghanistan, Hassan chased after the kite. We all know what happened during the alleyway, unfortunately. But during that time, so when they were trying, all right. So when Amir saw the incident happen, he ran away. He was afraid. He was a coward. That really shows his cowardice behavior. And basically, the whole kite during that moment was to signify Amir's love for Baba, and the whole time he was trying to get it back because he wants to earn Baba's respect. And unfortunately, the incident happened. He couldn't get it. He couldn't interfere. He was a coward, selfish. But then he goes on to say that maybe Hassan was the price I had to pay, the lamb I had to slay to win Baba over. Fortunately, he did win Baba over.
But it was temporary.
It was temporary.
Yeah.
He won him over for the expense of his friend, brother, Hassan, which leads to regret, guilt for the novel. And then we have redemption. The very last part of the novel, we see him kite running and kite flying with Sorab. Sorab basically is a different version of Hassan. And so, the way he redeemed himself was to befriend Hassan because he felt bad for the past that he couldn't atone to, he couldn't amend to that past because he never really got to apologize to Hassan himself. So the best way to redeem himself was to kite fly with Sorab.
Yeah.
But one of the other themes in the novel about kite fighting is hope. So when Amir escaped Sorab from Afghanistan to America, the United States, Sorab wasn't smiling at all for the past, he said 2 years. And when in the last scene where Amir went back to kite fighting for the first time after a very long time, he was kite fighting this one kid, and then his passions came back to him, and then Sorab followed him over as well, kind of sparked inside of him about kite fighting, and that kind of gave him that hope inside of him.
And another theme that kite running had was freedom. John, how would you describe freedom?
Be able to do whatever you want.
Be able to
without, negative aspects of, consequences, I guess.
Well, whenever they did kite fighting, they were always having fun. They never had to worry about anything. They found kite running as a way to be free of all the stresses in their lives. And when the incident happened that occurred in the alleyway, that was kind of their freedom being taken away for a very long time. And we see their freedom come back to him. And what I mean by him is Amir. He got his freedom back when he started kite running again with Hassan's son, Sohrab.
The structural elements of the novel that we already briefly mentioned about is the book is split into 3 parts: the childhood, teenager, and adult.
And during the childhood, it started off decent, right? They were fine, Amir was okay. But the more the story progresses, we can see aspects of dissent. It becomes mad. And then halfway through the book, we found out that the Soviets invaded Afghanistan in 1979, which led and transpired to it transitioning to Amir and Baba going into America halfway through the book. And then the last part is just when the Taliban in somewhere like 1990s took over Afghanistan, 90% of it, which leads on to, I guess, the main conflict, or not really main, but the second main conflict of the novel.
And one of the themes that plays onto that is, of course, redemption.
Yeah.
These are all big examples of change and adaptation. Like Amir and his father had to adapt to their new environments every time they had to move, and all these sudden changes. Obviously they had to adapt, or they wouldn't survive.
And luckily, Amir was able to adapt. Well, his father, not really, but...
But of course, all those hidden secrets that Baba lied to was of course redeemed by Amir. He had to do all those things that was lied, all those lies, all those guilts, all those regrets that was built into the story. Of course, it got redeemed by Amir at the end, during his adulthood.
What are your main thoughts of the themes? Of betrayal, guilt, cultural differences, familial bonds, anything like that? What is the most important theme to you in the novel?
Definitely betrayal.
Obviously, what happened to the alleyway was one of the most important betrayals in the novel. But it's also when he was reading books to Hassan. Amir, right? Hassan didn't know how to read. He was illiterate, but Amir, how he would portray him as well was he would make those words that obviously Hassan didn't know, so he made up the words and said, what was the word he used? Do you guys remember? It was something that was sort of mocking him. Right?
It was an insult.
It was definitely an insult. and so he used that against him. He betrayed him in that sense, and that's how we correlate to the rest of the novel about betrayals, right? And I think the first few parts of the novel is a betrayal, which I understand. For me, I believe that it's going to be guilt.
Guilt.
100% guilt, right?
100% guilt?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Well, give us an example of why guilt would be the number one theme of Kite Runner.
it's because it's like, okay, throughout the whole novel, after what happened down to Hassan, getting, in the alleyway, the incident in the alleyway, after that all happened, it changed his whole perspective on Hassan, everything around him. He started to look at Hassan differently. It carries on to him. He hated that he didn't do anything. He started thinking about Baba's words of a boy that can't stand up for himself is a man that can't
Stand up for anything.
exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And it just leads to guilt. 'Cause the more he thinks about that, it spirals into madness, I guess.
Well, this guilt would have never happened if Amir didn't betray Hassan.
So you're saying if he stood up,
If,
that
if he had,
alleyway scene-
if he had stood up, he would have never felt guilty about leaving Hassan to get in that altercation with Asif. So that's why I believe that betrayal plays like the number one role in like the theme of Kite Runner.
As in, like, it made, I guess, guilt. I mean, because, sure, he betrayed him, but, like, it made, the fact that he betrayed him made redemption and guilt the more bigger parts of the novel.
I think the middle between those two has to be lies as well. Because like when Rahim Khan revealed to Amir about like all Baba's secrets, that both Rahim Khan and Baba lied throughout the past, that they kept hidden from Amir. That's when Amir like went like crazy, went mad. Like, what's your thoughts about that? Like, you feel about Baba cheating on
Okay.
Ali's wife?
Let's use Baba's words against them, right? What was that one quote? Like, the ultimate sin is theft.
Oh yeah,
Is theft,
Back then,
yes.
yeah, in the start, he said that ultimate sin is theft.
Every sin lies back into theft, right? If you lie, you steal a man's the rights to truth, right? And it's hypocrisy from Baba. Everything he taught to Amir was basically his own past trying to get out and making it to Amir so he doesn't become himself. He's being a hypocrite, but he did that for the sake of Amir.
And I think when Rahim said about that, that's when Amir's trust towards Baba like shattered. Like his perspective towards Baba and everything that he admired about Baba, he like just threw it away.
Yeah, 100%.
Right now, we're going to be talking about quotations in the book and how they made you feel. So, there was a quotation that came to mind when I was reading the book, and it goes, "Come, there is a way to be good again." And I really like this quote because it talks about how even though you've made mistakes in the past, you can always redeem yourself by doing something good. And what Amir tried doing was he tried visiting Kabul and redeeming himself to Hassan, and unfortunately he wasn't able to because Hassan died,
My quote that I like was when Amir was older, he adopted Sarab, and he was Kite flying. He says this: "Perspective was a luxury when your head was constantly buzzing with a swarm of demons," which not only is a good quote, but it basically explains what his whole path was when he was younger. When he was younger, right? Everything was negativity. He never knew how to. He didn't know how. Obviously, didn't know why he was the way he was. But now that he grew up, he understands who he is now. He says that it's a luxury because he now knows that there was demons. By demons, he meant negative thoughts. He didn't know how to express himself. He was still young. Everything was going on. He was an impressionable young lad, but that's exactly why he didn't know how to become who he was. Yeah, nice.
And then my favorite quote was, it gives you goosebumps too. Everyone gets goosebumps, I'm pretty sure. It says, "For you, 1,000 times over." So when we first heard it was when sun got breaks. Okay, and now then the last scene, when the roles got switched, that's when Amir said to Sarab, Hassan 2.0, "For you, 1,000 times over." So this betrays a huge part of the scenes that gives you those like those heebie-jeebies.
So for the quotation, for you 1,000 times over, it's basically saying that you're willing to do anything for someone that you really love. Like, for example, I really love Anal, and I'm willing to do anything for him.
It's like a real friend would say.
So this theory, I bet you everyone's been thinking about it. What would happen if Amir stopped Hassan from being raped by
The book would
Saif?
finish already. Alright, continue.
Well, he is correct, but yeah, we can move on to the second theory.
Alright, so the second theory is the Taliban's really good. Are they really the good people? Like, what do you think about that?
Hell no. No,
Like,
no, they're not.
they saved, they rescued, yeah, of course, yeah, that's one thing, that's a good thing, yeah. They rescued the Kabul from the Soviets invasion, and then what's next? They killed innocent people's lives.
They're all lies.
And then lots of people fear them. Fear has to play throughout the novel too. That's one of the messages in the book as well.
Yeah.
Big bro.
The Taliban lied, right? But when they obviously they helped out, but that was just a facade. It was meant to trick everyone, and so they can have their trust in them. And now look, they took over the country.
I think it was just for their own pleasure. Like they wanted it all to themselves without
Yeah.
like
They're
wanting
powerful.
other people's opinions, right? It's like a totalitarian government, you know that?
It's sad to say that it's that time again that we have to say our goodbyes. But that doesn't mean that this is our last episode.
To another episode of
Coffee House Conversations. We hope that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good night. Stay tuned, and we'll see you all next time.